So welcome to our info session on doing an MBA or a Master of Laws next to a busy schedule. In this short lunch break of yours, we're going to walk through different areas of this topic, and this can be probably done in about 25 to 30 minutes, and there'll be some time at the end for questions, about 15 minutes. So if you have to leave early, no worries, you're going to get most of the information and it's all going to be good. So what are we going to cover today? Again, the workload of these programs, also the time management, how you can successfully do a program next to a job and private responsibilities, and a little bit of information as well about the admissions and financing options available to you. My name is Anna Patterson. I've been working at the university for over 10 years. So I've talked with a lot of students and put together this presentation to best help you in your decision-making process. So that's a little bit about me, and we're going to jump right into the program's overview. So you have an idea, this is our portfolio of MBA programs. We have a global executive MBA and an executive MBA program in Bucharest. And these are MBA programs dealing with the topics of general management and global leadership. These are part-time programs over 16 months with bases in Vienna or in Bucharest, respectively. And at the same time, we also offer part-time programs that are called professional MBAs. And this is a general management, education, plus leadership, plus specific expertise in a certain area, like a job role or an industry. The programs are also part-time and they are based mainly in Vienna. And we have some in German and some in English. So here are the specializations in English and the specialization in German currently available. If you want to get more information on these in details, we can talk about that in a one-on-one conversation. Just get in touch. At the same time, we also offer Master of Laws programs. So these are our three types of programs. They're also, again, all part-time. So you can expect to do a program actually between 12 and 16 months. We have a Master of Legal Studies program that's basically generated and designed for people without law degrees who work at the crossroads to get some knowledge in that area of tax law, labor law, and corporate and commercial law, and finally civil law as well. We have a rather new LLM program in the digitization of tax law at this crossroads, so to say. It's a compact 12-month part-time program. And then the third program we have is a Master of Business Law. And this is a part-time program designed actually for people who are interested in learning about Austrian and European Union law, negotiation law, and excuse me, there's a small typo, but actually this program is designed for people with law degrees, so lawyers and notaries and these types of folks coming to the VU Executive County to get a management education. And all of these programs, you can definitely rest upon that they are based on quality standards and have a good reputation. So you can see we have an accreditation group of accreditation agencies that come to us regularly. We have to do our homework to continually get accredited. And we also have rankings that actually signify the outstanding quality, for instance, of our executive MBA program, being placed 34th worldwide just last month. The Economist and QS are also other rankings that we see just support the quality and reputations of our programs. So that was a little overview of what we offer. And now let's dig deep into the workload. How are our programs offered? So in a nutshell, the MBA or the law program would look like this. You have a pre-module part, a core module part, and a post-module part. And you can expect over this entire program to have around 15 or 20 hours of work to do per week. So over the entire 16-month program. There are some programs that might have a month off here and there, summer holidays or Christmas holidays. So maybe it's going to be some weeks without this workload, but more often than not, it's going to be consistent. That's because it's going to be all our programs are basically shortened to the the minimum amount of time it takes to make such high quality programs that are accredited so that our people can graduate quicker. The pre-module part is designed to prep everyone in subjects and get their knowledge level at basically the same level. I mean, it's not going to be possible to get everyone, of course, to the exact same level, but we need to have people who've never, for instance, worked in a marketing field be able to talk in class and discuss with others about that topic of marketing management and making decisions on marketing operations at a higher level. So the pre-learning assignments, the pre-module assignments take place mostly in the format of an e-learning platform. That's why you prepare yourselves. And the core module section is then when you get in class and you're interacting and you're discussing the material with your peers. And finally, the post-module section is where you're taking this new knowledge that you finally formulated and understood through these discussions, through the readings, and you're going to implement it in something practical. So at best in your job, and write a report on that and turn that in. That's one example of a post-module assignment. The schedule of our programs is next. So then we're going to go into like what a typical day looks like. But here's an overview of, for instance, the first half of a professional MBA. We call it the business core. And there are two modes of learning. So for those of you who say, I want to come to campus all the time for classes, would join an on-campus track. And the others where maybe you want to reduce your traveling time would come to the hybrid track. And where 3 of the modules then are going to be online only modules. And that saves you a little bit on the time it takes to come to classes and also on those travel costs as well. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm jumping real quick through these slides, but if you have questions, again, just throw them in the chat. I can be answering them as we go, so just let me know. Here is the overview of the Global Executive MBA schedule. This program is set up to be also once a month with no breaks. So let's walk through it, right? You would start in April and have one basically 4-day module, but you start a little bit early, 2 more days early to have like welcome dinner and orientation sessions and a little bit of a leadership focus in that first kickoff part. And then you go through with the content. And generally, this would be a setup that repeats itself for 3 times. So you'd come to Vienna Wednesday evening, fly in maybe from your other regions, have classes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then on Sunday, you could probably fly back in the late afternoon, early evening. After 3 of these sessions, your first international residency takes place. And these are residencies that are designed to bring you to really how globalization, how international business works on the ground. And the students would go to Latin America for their first residency, early June, late July. And after that, returning to Vienna, they would continue with this cycle of, okay, starting with August, once a month, to have these 1 core module, where you have the pre-assignment, right, the core assignment, and the post-assignment. By the time December hits of that year, you would expect 2 things. So 1, you would be preparing for your residency, your second international residency in January, going to China and India. You'd have assignments there and so on. And at the same time, parallel, what's not shown here is your global team project is going to be kicking off. And this is going to be your master thesis at the end of the day, you can call it. And that takes place parallel to the modules online and helps you basically learn the real working of international business, because you're going to be paired with other executive MBA students in China and in the United States. So it's a real global team project in the real sense of the words. After you return from your residency in China and India, you would have 2 more modules in Vienna in March and early April. And finally, you'd go start your 3rd international residency in the United States First, there's going to be about half a week in New York City. Then there'll be a travel date, and the second half of the residency takes place at the University of Minnesota. And why particularly there? Well, this program has a double degree, so the partner university is hosting actually half of the courses in the entire curriculum and also hosts this part of the residence. The students graduate twice. Yeah, that means you throw your hats off twice, one time here in Minneapolis, and then students return to Vienna for one final module. And in July, they have their second graduation ceremony in Vienna. So you can expect around a very compact program in just 16 months. And we counted around the days that you might need to take holidays for. These amount to around 45 days that we call off the job. So let's take a look now what a typical day looks like. The modules take place really from the morning to the end, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. There might be a half an hour shift later, so 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., but that's generally what it looks like. There's going to be, of course, breaks, a morning break to get you caffeinated again, if you take tea or coffee. We know that the classes are very intensive. The discussions are really supposed to be taking place in the classroom. So these breaks then are important part of the learning journey. And yeah, so that's why I mentioned them. And in the evening after 6 p.m., we don't send our students really freely home, but we kind of encourage you strongly to participate in the guest speaker events because they're particularly organized to take place when we have students visiting campus for their classes. So that's why the MBA is going to be a packed experience, and you should definitely expect a lot of returns in a short amount of time. So with all that in mind, how is it possible to manage all that? Well, we have a few tips for you. Basically, if you were to choose a part-time program over a full-time program, here are some ways to think about it, to put it in a different perspective. This allows you to continue to work a part-time program, right? So the classes are going to be generally reduced to a minimum of full-time days. That makes it possible to plan a work schedule in advance and makes it possible to continue working, continue receiving an income while you're doing a program. Secondly, you can use these skills on the Monday that you return to the office, and you don't have to wait, let's say, a whole year to complete your full-time MBA and use the skills. So it tends to be the case that people get better at what they do. They return to the office on Monday, they've just maybe had the financial management module, they've gotten new tools on how to critically review financial reports, for example, or it can be the same thing with a marketing class. You get new ideas and you come in Monday ready to make an impact. So what happens then, you get a lot more done with your time. And the advantages that are obvious, your career can definitely get a boost. It just shows that it would pay off. And we can only offer you tips and also encouraging advice that yes, a part-time program is manageable. We have known survivors, and to do the program, I collected a lot of feedback through my conversations with students, and a few things came up. Basically, yes, it takes time to get things organized. That is just a statement, it's a fact. It's not going to be, we cannot do this for you. The program management team is there to give you materials, but the self-organization, take that half an hour on the weekends or Monday morning to plan your week. Then take that time to get organized, to coordinate your work schedule with your program schedule. And we also offer the tip that if you factor in the international residencies, the company visits, these excursions early enough, it won't lead to surprises or to a lot of a high workload shortly before this trip. So if you know it well in advance, you can also prepare for that. And to do so, to prepare efficiently and effectively, it's of course good to set some clear goals for your let's say 2 hours of studying that evening, set aside what you want to reach, put aside your distractions, prepare for that 2 hour, really to have a focused, quiet space. And also make sure when we say take time for yourself, that means a little bit, take time to recharge your batteries so that you can be as effective as possible when you sit down with your limited time and take on that program. We also talked to some graduates, some known survivors of these programs. Elena Clone did the Global Executive MBA. She's a very busy woman and also very successful alumni who just, I would say within the last 2 years, received the position as Chief Executive Officer of the Faro app. And basically she suggested or explained to us how she did the program. So while she was doing her studies, she was able to slightly reduce her workload, but nevertheless, she still had to complete 3 consulting projects in Vietnam, which took a lot of time and energy for her. But she wanted to complete the program with the best result possible, knowing that she had invested a lot of resources. So yes, she spent about 15 to 20 hours on her MBA tasks each week, preparing, and she lists presentations, the business cases, doing team calls, readings, and the like. And when did she fit that in? Well, she mentions, in her case, she put it as block time in the evenings, also on the weekends, or at her time while traveling. A lot of people were sitting at the airports waiting for flights and could use that time well. So that's one way to take it. We also have the program manager, Al-Keller, who mentions how to get prepared for such a challenging program. And she recommends when you first start the program, please just get any deadlines or exam dates in one sort of study calendar. And the studying calendar should include important personal dates or events, so you don't, so you can identify overlaps, right? And you can identify conflicts. If there's a holiday and a deadline is on the day of the holiday or the day after, then you might need to change your approach to throwing the holiday party after the deadline, or so on. And she also recommends calculating, working backwards and calculating how many weeks of study time you would probably need before each deadline. And that way you can avoid the last minute cramming sessions. And she recommends taking 30 minutes to map out your day, or your week, or your month, because in the end it could save you 30 hours of stress time when you're inefficiently working through multiple MBA tasks and juggling private life and your job. So think about a study calendar, and it's just one idea that could help. So we had a question coming in, which is great. Is there any difference on the weekly projected workloads between MBA programs and Master of Law programs? No, actually, the programs are designed to be the same. They are also, again, this is like an estimate, but it's still an advanced degree. It's still a master's degree, and it's within the structure of our postgraduate school. So we don't make it extensively theoretical or extensively practical, but it's a middle ground. And that's why you can still expect 15 to 20 hours in both types of programs. Great question. If there are any more, keep them coming. At this point, I'm going to also move on to the topics of admission and financing. So I would just here like to share what types of admission criteria you can expect in the program. The student criteria includes a solid career progression, the ability to commit to challenging programs, interpersonal communication skills, right? Those are important for the discussion classes, discussion segments of classes, and of course, ambition and drive. So in other words, I'm just reading, we have a few questions coming in, so I'm going to jump back to those questions. The prep work I mentioned of 15 to 20 hours are basically the weeks that don't include the full days of class. So you can expect to work during those days with class, of course, a lot more than in the prep weeks before that. So great question. And application deadlines, when are the application deadlines coming up for the Master of Legal Studies program? That would also be in June of 2022. And for both types of these programs, the Master of Legal Studies and the Global Executive MBA programs, and the professional MBA programs, we have some hard skill requirements. Everyone who wants to apply should bring in a university degree, work experience of 3, or for the executive MBA programs, 5 years, the ability to write and speak well in English, of course, and to take place in the personal admission interview. We don't require a GMAT test or a TOEFL test. And the application just steps are: you start an online application and submit it. You send some documents. Step 2, step 3, there's an admissions interview. Step 4, you receive a decision. It's pretty straightforward, but sometimes people have questions on that. And I'd like to share that slide because of that. And you can also plan about 1 month for such an application process. Of course, scholarships are questions. So here are some scholarships right now that we know are available. A lot of other scholarships keep coming up on the homepage, but I'd like to mention we have need-based scholarships for programs with the deadlines you see here. And we also have scholarships for female leaders, which are also merit-based and need-based. And the deadline, the first deadline coming up is June 15th, if you're interested in starting the Global Executive MBA. And this photo shows actually the board members and our dean, the board members of the Female Leaders Network. So this was a group of Global Executive MBA students who decided to form the network shortly after graduating. And we just celebrated the network's 3rd birthday this fall. So of course, if you come to this info session today, this webinar, you might ask, okay, well, what's the return on all that investment? You're putting in the workload, you're putting in the time and the resources and that energy. What can you expect to get out of such an adventure? We've put together this graphic to show basically some of the nutshells that we think come with such a program, and then I'll share with you statistics as well in just a moment. Basically, you can expect highly practical content, an international network, and access to such a network that you haven't even had before through your job. You can expect to get leadership inputs in a new way, and at the end of the day, you're leaving with a highly recognized degree that's going to advance your career. So that's it in a nutshell. And we looked up through the alumni survey we recently had how this really impacts the careers of our graduates. And basically, we surveyed the graduation years from 2015 to 2018. We asked them what types of our services do you most value, and they were listed here. And we also asked them, okay, what about the career impact that you've had? And one can see that over 75% have had a positive career step shortly after the MBA program. This career change happened with a new position or a new employer. And what type of career development is common? Well, 49% have additional responsibility and 59% about higher earnings. And another type of change, 12% founded their own company. And that was very, very interesting. And with these changes, of course, comes salary increases. So the average salary increase we surveyed was around 30%. And I'm going to move on. This is the platform we have for our international community. It's basically like a very tailored platform with special job offers, a profile, but then it goes into very much detail. I'm probably going into too much detail right now, so I'm going to jump through this. but it's just the platform I wanted to show you. It's tailored for the student and alumni community. And this is how the career impact can take place. In a way, it's about knowing why you're interested in developing yourself. You have to prepare that sort of argument within yourself. You have to know how to get there. So you have to have the skills to actually make a change and an impact. And we provide that through a lot of training programs, a lot of hard skill factors, as well as the MBA program. And you also have to know who in your network can help you succeed. So this is it in a nutshell on how the career impact of a program looks like. And now I'd like to open the floor to questions. So the first question I see has already popped in. Is there any way to get support for the days we should take off the job through so-called Bildungskarenz in Austria, the educational leave in Austria? Well, what we can do is perhaps our program managers know of other students who have also taken educational leave to do a program. It's not the common thing to do, but of course, in our network of people, it's possible to connect you to these folks, and you can exchange ideas and find out from their experiences. So that's the support that we can definitely offer you there. What we can also provide is, of course, a confirmation of your acceptance into the program and certain documents that you might need to formally apply for education leave. Great question. I'm happy to take any more questions from everyone today. Feel free to use this chance. Again, my name is Anna, and I've been working at the university for just over 10 years, so it would be my pleasure to help you today. Could you perhaps elaborate more about the funding channels? Well, yeah, I'd be happy to. So an MBA program is, of course, comes with a large financial investment, but it can be made more manageable through different funding options. And I would definitely say there are at least 3 or 4 funding options available that you should know about. The first one is that you can apply for a program already, most likely with an early bird rate. So this just means an automatic discount for being earlier than people who need to wait for different reasons to make a decision. So just by being early, you can often save 2,000 or 3,000 euros just right away without any hurdles to jump through. The second option are scholarships. So these are generally our need-based scholarships. So for every scholarship applicant out there, we request a salary statement so that we can have a very clear understanding of your financial situation. And then we compare your situation with the other scholarship applicants. And in that way, we can really provide more support to people who need more support than others. So an example, who needs more support? For instance, somebody living outside of Austria, somebody who has to take a flight into Austria, they'll have these expenses, which somebody who lives in Vienna won't have. They don't pay for hotel or flights. And we do have around 50% of the class flying or traveling in, be it by train or car to Vienna. And that's what we look at there. A third funding option that could be really helpful for you is to know that in Austria, if you work here and you pay taxes here, the country is set up with a very beneficial tax system that you can submit your educational costs, tuition, but also anything you use to study as in your tax returns. And you can get more often than not, a large portion of this expense for your education returned to you. And a question just came in on this, which is great. So about the tax reductions, I read somewhere it would be possible to get as much as 50% back. What happens if the company pays for part of it? In this case, whatever you are providing in your income statement, when you file individual taxes, you're going to be providing an area called, in German, Werbungskosten. So this is where you're writing your tuition costs. So it's based on your individual tuition payment to us as a university. The company is going to file anyways their own tax statements with the company, with their tax advisor. And companies as well can write off education on their tax returns. But it's going to be seen as two different settings. So just think of it in your head, depending on your tax bracket, you can get between 40 and 50% back in your tax return. Don't quote me there, but talk to your tax advisors, guys. But you can expect to get that kind of percentage back. It happens to be just directly related to your tax payment bracket. So that's why I cannot say it's such a strong or a certain number, but it's your tax bracket. And we've seen about 40%, 50% getting returned. If you have more questions, we can go into detail in a one-on-one, but I'm very happy to answer everyone's questions today. Because we do have around 10 more minutes left. We can end it, of course, earlier, but feel free to throw your questions in the chat and I'd be happy to answer them. Another question came in regarding somebody who is asking about the tax reduction situation for Swiss residents. I don't know the Swiss tax situation there, and I haven't talked to our Swiss students in detail enough to find out if that is an option for people who pay taxes in Switzerland. So there I would actually suggest you to get in touch with or check out the Ministry of Finance in Switzerland, and you can probably navigate through their website or give the team a call to ask them about this question. Yeah, it's a great question. I do know from a personal note that for US citizens and residents, it would apply, but that's just because it's a personal interest. I'd like to also open the floor to other questions, and maybe the next slide, I know we just have a backup slide because people want to know about hybrid teaching. How is hybrid teaching nowadays looking like? And so these are two photos I often like to throw into the slides to show you, okay, this is a hybrid setting. We have students who cannot come to Vienna because of their travel restrictions in, let's say, Ukraine or Russia, right? Or it would be extremely complicated to travel to Vienna, to sit in quarantine when they go back to Russia. Things like this that make it very difficult to travel, that make it too difficult to expect you to travel. You're allowed to then attend the classes online, and you would basically be shown and be able to interact. We have high-tech equipment that we recently installed and this includes cameras, but also microphones and speakers so that we avoid IT hiccups in the best way possible. This is what we want to show you what hybrid settings looks like nowadays. And about the travel information, I mean, we are prepared. Your international components won't be canceled. We just want to say to everyone, we just have to know we have to be flexible. We have to be as flexible as our students. So we basically make decisions about these international trips and international residencies shortly before the month that we go. And it's reflected on basically, okay, the timing and the locations of these planned trips. So that's a little bit about that. And we had another question coming in. I would like to know more about the WAF grants for the LLM and the digitization courses. How does the WAF funding work and apply to the course? That's a great question. I would say to go into detail, perhaps one-on-one, because I honestly am not familiar with the WAF funding. I'd have to do a little bit of research on my own first. I know that for a previous cohort, a previous deadline was the Digi bonus funding offered by the by the WAFF. And this just applies to anyone looking to upskill themselves in a program that tackles digitization topics. So yes, the LLM does address that field of digitization of text, so it would apply. And I don't want to go into too much detail because I need to refresh actually my understanding of how that funding works before I advise you all on this option. But it's a great great option that you mentioned. I'm sure everyone can also look it up and be much quicker than I am right now on getting advice on the WAF DigiBonus is what it's called. And we still have some time for more questions. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box. I'd be happy to help. And this is my contact information. So if there was something you missed today, or if you wanted to talk about something else in a private conversation, we can meet on Zoom, like here today, but in a one-on-one session. And I'd be happy to go through that with you. So a question just came in on how often can I use the hybrid model? For example, for more than 50% of the entire program? That's a great question. I'm going to show you a little bit about that setup on the slide, because the slide shows how often hybrid takes place. And it's not going to be 50% of the time. Hybrid is an option for people doing the professional MBA program. And in the professional MBA program, there's a business core. And this is the business core takes place from October through June. And after that is a specialization. So the business core is where the hybrid elements take place. And there are 3 hybrid elements out of 7 possibilities. So it's not 50% quite, but it's getting close to that 50%. And after that, you can expect a specialization to be around 5 components, 5 appointments. It can be 4, it can be 6 or 7, but 5 is roughly what I've seen in the schedules of around 5-day sessions. And these are all going to be in person for your specialization. So great questions. Another question coming in. So from March until October 2022, it's not business core. No, actually, hybrid does take place from October of each year until June of the following year. And that's where hybrid could take place. Well, I guess it starts in November, excuse me. The kickoff starts with everybody in class in Vienna. And then in November, your first hybrid modules are taking place. And after that, until the spring, it's possible to do a hybrid MBA. And then you come back to Vienna one more time in June. It's important to come back for that module because the leadership element of the business core program is a continuous journey from October to June, where we have a kickoff, in-person kickoff session with Christoph Miska, the professor, and his co-professor as well. And they close this component in June together. And then you normally have like a summer break. And then you come back in September for your specialization model in campus. So that's hopefully going to answer your question, but I would say let's get in touch for a one-on-one and go into detail and do a deep dive of that. So another question that came in about how many full days off work are seen in the professional MBA. I've basically come up with a rough figure around 50 days off the job for this program. So great question. I'd be happy to send you anybody's schedules on these particular programs so you can really get an idea of the time period for your desired program. And our programs are starting basically the cohorts for the professional MBA all start in the fall. So it's not possible to join in summer, unfortunately. But if you're looking to start an MBA earlier in the year and you don't want to wait, and you're thinking the Global Executive MBA is interesting for you, then good news, because this program starts in April. So that's one way to join and start a program earlier. Well, I'd have to say back to you, everyone. Thank you for the great questions. This was really a fun info session, a fun webinar for me. And I'm also happy to say thank you to our IT support out there, Lawrence, for making this all possible today. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, I'm going to skip now real quick to that slide. You can definitely reach out to me, throw me an email, find me on LinkedIn, chat me up, and we can get in touch to talk about your situation, how you can manage an MBA or a law program next to a very busy schedule. So thank you very much and have a great rest of the day.